We have seen this ongoing race in the chip sector, and of course right now accusations about how China really got its hand on these advanced chips. What do we know at this point?
That's right. That's right. Thank you for asking. I just had the opportunity to edit that story, this scoop out of our team around the world. This is showing that U.S. Officials are very skeptical about how DeepSeek got its technology. This is a technology that DeepSeek says is cheaper. It was less expensive to develop, and now rivals like Microsoft and OpenAI, as well as U.S. officials, including the FBI and the White House, the Treasury Department, are looking into where did they get this technology? Did they build it on the back of U.S. technology, more advanced technology? And did they obtain chips from Nvidia through Singapore, through third parties in Singapore? Did they obtain chips that are not supposed to end up in Chinese hands? Those are the questions that right now U.S. investigators are looking into.
We're seeing some big moves when it comes to this space at the moment. Obviously, South Korea just coming back online after those holidays, Tom. We're seeing SK Hynix shares sliding over 10% as the Korean market gets its first chance to react to all of this, in addition to, of course, what we're seeing at the moment, which is the launch of this investigation into whether DeepSeek circumvented those US restrictions. So at the moment, the debate, Tom, seems to be, was this really a case where scarcity boosts innovation and brilliance, or whether this, was a case of something else going on? But is there a real question as to whether ongoing US curbs on this technology have run into limitations?
Right, exactly. I mean, the U.S., as we've been reporting, has for several years now been placing restriction after restriction on U.S. technology chips. They went after one level of Nvidia chips, and then they went after another level, and they continue to ratchet up the restrictions because they want to make sure that companies in China are not obtaining this technology to advance their chip-making capabilities. They talk about it from a national security perspective. You could argue that there's also a competitiveness question here, and wanting to ensure that U.S. retains its edge in certain key areas like chip-making, as well as some areas of artificial intelligence. When DeepSeek hit earlier this week, as you'll recall, it sent shockwaves around the world, and it raised questions about just how far the U.S. is in generative artificial intelligence, the development of these chat bots that are making our work so much more efficient, that are making it easier to do coding. If a Chinese-based company can come out and say, we can do it at a fraction of the cost, we can sell it more cheaply, our tools are more efficient, and those are all the claims that are being made about DeepSeek, that has definitely raised questions about, one, the amount that we're investing in global infrastructure, in chips, all these billions of dollars that SoftBank and Meta and company after OpenAI, Microsoft, company after company are spending. Should they be spending that much money? So that's one set of questions. The other set of questions, as you alluded to, is, are these curbs that the U.S. is putting in place, are these limitations on NVIDIA chips, for example, are there ways that the Chinese are circumventing those? And can they use third parties in Singapore, for example, where we have seen a lot of, and we've been writing about a lot of Chinese companies, startups have been moving into Singapore. What the U.S. wants to know is, are they getting their hands on this stuff illegally?
It seems that the stock market has a fresh scandal that's stirring global attention. Authorities in Singapore have initiated a significant investigation into alleged fraudulent schemes involving the shipment of Nvidia chips, a move that could shake the very foundation of international trade regulations. Are these shipments violating US-sanctioned restrictions by finding their way into China's technology sphere? Let's delve deeper and find out. Welcome back, everyone, to Investocracy.
Because we have export restrictions on quite a few countries, but apparently not Singapore.
Yeah, and I was just there on Friday, right? So I could tell you the sense is that these export controls, it's not going to be really constrained to ultimately Singapore. And I think the fear here, and I think you're seeing on the Nvidia sell-off, is that this is going to be a huge ripple effect. It's going to be harder and harder to get those chips. That's something, even though there's the China piece, it could have a much broader impact across the region. I think bark's worse than the bite. I mean, as someone, in Asia for 2 weeks, I think it's when I get the fears, but I don't think this is something that's really going to be as much of a restrictive factor, despite everything we saw today.
Do you think it's deep-seek concerns that are spurring this next wave, potentially, of regulation? And I guess perhaps just as importantly, has the train already left the station when you look at homegrown chip development in a place like China?
Look, I think DeepSeek, that was a shot across the bow, because I think everyone recognized, okay, they didn't do this in the basement with no chips. And it comes down to, if they use next-gen Nvidia chips, what does that mean? And I think, look, the broader fear, especially that you see in the Trump administration, is, okay, we got restricted more and more. So I think what you're starting to see from an investor perspective is, okay, what does this mean for Nvidia? Second derivatives. Is this going to crimp the supply chain? Now, we disagree. I think when it comes to tariffs, we've seen many times, this is one, it's going to have an impact, but I do not believe it's going to have such a pronounced impact. I think it's being factored in here in terms of supply chain. Still 15-to-1 demand to supply, when it comes to Blackwell.
Well, okay, bark is worse than bite. But still, a bark can be pretty bad if it hurts sentiment, right? If it sort of puts a wet blanket on the party, has an impact on valuation. At what point does it start to do that? And do you have to, if you're an AI investor or even NVIDIA investor, have to get less bullish? Yeah,
look, I mean, no doubt you're going through a lot of turbulence here. From a sentiment perspective, you're seeing the stock, then it becomes self-fulfilling prophecy. But what I'll tell you is it comes down to just demand. Do we see any changes in spending? That demand's going to continue to be there. And I think it's there's only one chip in the world that ultimately could fuel this. I get we're going to go through this, but in my opinion, these are opportunities, not the time to run for the hills. I think when you look at it in terms of tech winners, if you look over the years, it's period like this and these white knuckle periods that you own the winners, you own the Nvidias.
Singapore is under the global microscope after its authorities began probing into possible fraudulent activities involving banned Nvidia chips. The saga began unraveling when Singapore's Home Affairs and Law Minister, K. Shanmugam, announced the launch of an investigation following several high-profile arrests, as reported by Bloomberg. Allegedly, these chips were secretly rerouted through servers manufactured by tech giants Dell and Supermicro Computer, raising eyebrows and market concerns. But before going on with the video, are you into cryptocurrency? If so, check out our second channel, Investocracy Crypto. We bring you breaking news, expert analysis, and the latest trends in the fast-moving world of digital assets. Whether you're a seasoned crypto investor or just curious about the future of finance, we've got something for you. Click the link in the description to subscribe to Investocracy Crypto now. Don't miss out and stay ahead of the game. Now, let's get back to the video.
Obviously, one of the reasons for the weakness in the market at the index level, specifically, is Nvidia, which is down again. It's take a look at Nvidia today.
Yeah.
It can't get any footing from earnings. It's been down about 5% today. It's off more than 11% year to date. It is the big issue, along with momentum. You're out of it completely now.
I am out.
When did you sell the rest of it?
I sold the rest of it when they reported earnings. So it's I didn't get it on the upswing in the earnings because it went into the green. I sold it when it started to go into the red. Look, there are a few issues with Nvidia in my view. One of them being that with Apple, for example, you're starting to see them make their own chip, and others all have plans to. It's got competition. Also, it's been reported that Nvidia that China is buying the Nvidia chip through other countries. So I think that's an issue for them. And then finally, when you take a look at what tariffs could do, and Taiwan Semi has been called out for tariffs, that stock's really gotten hit. It's not reflected here, but they'll pick up the excess capacity.
Well, they're about to announce, we think, according to the Wall Street Journal, a $100 billion investment in the U.S., something you may hear more about as the afternoon progresses.
Right. Most of which, frankly, has been announced already. But the point on NVIDIA is that a lot of people didn't even know why they owned it. They owned it for the momentum. And they owned it because they didn't want to sell it because of taxes. And I think part of the hit to technology overall is that those that came into the year saying, okay, I'm going to wait to sell until the next year, 25, and hopefully pay lower taxes or just delay my taxes for a period. They said, you know what, I can't hold on anymore. So it's a combination of factors that hit that in tech. But it's really notable that the only 2 of the 12 sectors that are down year to date in the S&P are information technology, which is tech, and consumer discretionary.
Which is obviously heavy weighting towards Tesla and Amazon.
Exactly. And I actually am still negative on the market, not bearish, but still negative, and looking to raise cash. That's one of the other reasons I sold Nvidia.
All right. Evidence suggests the accused entities attempted to mislead suppliers about the end users of these servers, claiming unauthorized export prohibitions. The real talking point, however, is whether Malaysia was the actual destination or a mere stopover before the chips were smuggled into restricted territories. Shanmugam stresses the ongoing investigation's independence from U.S. export regulations, citing it began after an anonymous insider tipped authorities. But before going any further, if you made it this far into the video, thank you. These videos take a lot of effort and time to make, so if you enjoyed them, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. This goes a long way in helping us grow. That said, back to the video.
I mean, Nvidia is off 21% from its record high of January the 7th. Alphabet's down 18% from its record high of February 4th. Microsoft down 16% from its high last July. Amazon, Meta, and Apple are all down significantly from their own record highs. You made a move too, Kev, in Nvidia today. Tell me more.
Well, yesterday at the close, Scott, we covered a quarter of the position just in case the things got a little bit more dicey today. And there was a lot of premium, as you can imagine, with the volatility. So we wrote a short-term 1-week call. It's a 123 option. We generated almost $5 of premium. So if I get taken out, I'm out at 128, and that would be great. Jim just bought it, and we still have the other 75% of the shares uncovered. But Scott, I'd be a buyer of any of these down here. Maybe not back the truck up and go all in, but if you're dollar cost averaging into positions that you really like, 10 to 20% pullbacks are the times you want to be buying.
Despite the scandal engulfing alternative chips' destination and usage, there's immense faith in the brand and its technological prowess. Forecasts suggest upward trajectories, particularly as Nvidia maneuvers its business strategies under prying eyes and heightened scrutiny. But what do you think? Share your thoughts. Finally, if you would like to know what companies like Nvidia have been up to these past few days, go ahead and click on the next video on your screen. See you there.